What's up, guys? It's KB. Make sure you subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel. Click the bell icon down below so you don't miss a single video from us. And thanks for tuning in to another video from Underground Sports Philadelphia. Now let's get into it.
Philadelphia, baby, you're going to love it. Best sports fans in the world. Actually, the worst, but that's what makes them the best.
What is going on, OTB Nation? Welcome into episode number 361 of the award-nominated, honorably mentioned number 9 NCAA ranked, and of course viewable on YouTube, Outside the Box podcast, the official lacrosse podcast on the Underground Sports Philadelphia Podcast Network. KB and Deej coming at you. Big game week. My body is vibrating on all types of levels, ready to rock and roll for the Birds. We've got NLL action. We've got PLL preview action for the Champ Series and WLL Champ Series preview action. Plus, Deej is going to break down all the latest from the college game and whatever the hell else comes to mind. So strap in, buckle your seatbelts, keep your arms and legs inside the ride at all times. And ladies and gentlemen, before we get into this ride that is episode 361 of OTB, make sure you guys are following us on the socials at OTB LaxPod across the board. Follow Deej on the socials at SCS_NextGreat. Follow Hoots at Hoot Sports Media. Follow Chase at the PLL Pipeline. Follow me at KBIZZL311. And follow Underground Sports Philadelphia at Underground PHI. Subscribe to the pod, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts in audio form. Leave us a 5-star review. It goes a long way for helping this show continue to grow, helps more people find OTB and our entire catalog of podcasts. And this week for our big game preview on Underground Sports Philadelphia, we had Philadelphia Water Dogs, Short Stick D Mitty, and diehard Birds fan Christian Scarpello. And Deej, I got to say, I was a little spooked at first because Christian cut his hair. He's got a short cut now.
Really?
Yeah, he's looking dapper. But I was caught off guard. I saw it first on the Water Dogs social account because he's been doing some of their social content recently. And I was like, who the is that guy? And then I was like, oh my God, that's Big Scarp. He was great. If you want to go listen to that, that is available in audio and video form as well on the Underground Sports Philadelphia podcast feed. But subscribe to the pod, subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/@Underground Sports Philadelphia. That's where you get full video episodes of this show every week, full video episodes of every show on our network, clips, shorts, live streams, original video content. Hey, Deej, since we last recorded, we hit 1,000 subscribers, baby. Let's go. Let's go. Everyone,
That don't mean hey.
Talk to
that
him.
don't mean y'all stop subscribing. That don't mean y'all stop telling y'all friends and family to subscribe. That don't mean that you don't keep sharing our content for other people to subscribe. But thank you very much. We appreciate all of you for all that you have done and helping us reach this landmark. It is only one stepping stone and many stepping stones to come. Very much appreciated.
It was like one of those moments when it happened. I was like, holy shit. It was like seeing 4 digits on the screen, like blew my mind. And like Deej said, it's a small milestone in the YouTube space, but it's a meaningful milestone as well. So thank you to everybody who has subscribed. Continue subscribing. Leave a like on the video. Drop a comment in the comment section and click that bell icon so you know whenever new videos go live. We are currently at 1,002 subscribers. Let's get to 1,100. That's the next goal. Every next goal is the next 100. And obviously now we are trying to 100x this 1,000, and we're plaque chasing. We are plaque chasing, ladies and gentlemen. Trying to get that silver play button on this channel. And like we mentioned last week, you guys came through in droves. So, Deej, I think the people want the content, but you got to keep coming through. We're about halfway there. We said last week, the gauntlet was thrown to the people. If you want a college lacrosse episode of OTB every single week, Subscribe to the Outside the Box podcast YouTube channel, youtube.com/@OTBLocksPod. It'll be with Deej. It'll be with Hoots. Typically Sunday, they'll record. It'll be available to you on Monday. And then we will also talk college like we have been on this episode as well to kind of preview the weekend. Deej and Hoots would recap the weekend and get you situated for the midweek games and all of that. It's youtube.com/@OTBLocksPod. We're at 49 subscribers. Let's get to 100 by next week. You guys came through in droves. We went from having 28 subscribers to 49 in less than a week. So let's keep that rolling. If you want the OTB College Show, subscribe to the Outside the Box podcast YouTube channel as well. And this show is proudly presented by Shootout For Soldiers. And guys, we told you about a whole bunch of things coming to Shootout For Soldiers in 2025. Their registration for the High Point University Military Appreciation Games, that's closed. But you can register for the following events at shootoutforsoldiers.com/events. On March 1st, the 285 Atlanta Lacrosse Invitational. On March 8th and 9th, Shootout For Soldiers Houston, Texas. On May 25th, Shootout For Soldiers Jacksonville, North Carolina. On July 9th and 10th, Shootout For Soldiers Long Island. On July 12th, Shootout For Soldiers Massachusetts. On July 19th, Shootout For Soldiers Ohio. On July 26th and 27th, Shootout For Soldiers Canandaigua. On August 2nd and 3rd, Shootout For Soldiers Virginia. August 9th, Shootout For Soldiers Colorado. Another new event, August 30th, Shootout For Soldiers Northland, Wisconsin. And then on September 5th and 6th, Shootout For Soldiers Baltimore. All of those are available to register for at shootoutforsoldiers.com/events. It's linked in the description. Find out how to get involved, become a sponsor of Shootout For Soldiers, register for events, donate, volunteer your time. It's truly a one-of-a-kind experience when you're at a Shootout For Soldiers event. This slate in 2025 for their events is locked and loaded, stacked to the gills. They're going all over the country. There's a high likely chance that somebody listening to this podcast, there's a Shootout For Soldiers event either in their backyard or within driving distance. So head out to Shootout For Soldiers this summer and spring. Check out shootoutforsoldiers.com/events and register for one of their events on their 2025 schedule. And we thank Shootout For Soldiers for being a proud presenting partner of the Outside the Box podcast. What's poppin', Deej?
Yeah, we got 1,000 subscribers. Nah,
yes, sir.
I'm living, bro. I'm living. Michigan lacrosse is off to a good start in the year. Michigan basketball on a win streak right now. I pray to God that things go good for us on Sunday. I'm vibing, man. I got the fresh beam earlier today. Like I'm
like the beam.
I'm feeling good.
He's out here,
bro.
Sacramento Kings vibes. Call him Zach LaVine.
Hey, they low-key got a little squad now, though. Zach, DeMar, Sabonis.
They said, let's just run back the 2022 Chicago Bulls.
I mean,
instead of Vuk, let's have Sabonis.
I mean, is that and like
let's have another Eastern European big man instead of Vuk.
They look like the early 2000s Kings when they had like Chris Webber in that squad. Like they were hooping back then too. So I'm excited for the NBA's going, but I know Philly fans are not. So we'll dissipate the talk there.
What's the NBA?
I know y'all should feel that way.
Yeah, I no lo sé. Porque es lo NBA.
NBA. Never heard. Never heard.
The NBA versus lacrosse trade discussion has been hot in the streets due to the Luka Doncic trade that happened since the last time we recorded. Did you see my comparison of what a hypothetical Luka trade would be in present day PLL?
I did not.
So commented on our good pals at Stick Talk. They posted something, and I forget what Scotty said it would be. But I said it would be like trading Jack Hanna and a future 3rd round pick for RP3. Mind you, I said current PLL. I wasn't bringing anything from the past because I know a lot of people are talking about the Paul Rabel 2015 trade to the Lizards being the true equivalent to it. But I brought it into more modern day perspective. And that was the first thing that popped in my head.
I'm trying to think of somebody that's just like a tad more Shelly and a pick for RP3. It's like that next guy up. Like it's clear, like kind of who's like no teat. He's the number one guy kind of thing. Where it's like Luka is like very much expected to be one of those top 3 players in the next couple years that are consistently talked about. That's kind of where I lean with that. But I do see your point, especially coming from like a Philadelphia standpoint. It's a crazy trade.
It's probably the craziest NBA trade of our lifetime. Like the fact that when that trade broke,
that PG trade was pretty wild too. The one that
yeah,
sent the Clippers.
in hindsight, for sure.
Yeah.
But off the rip, like with the Band-Aid just ripped off immediately, and at the time that it broke, it kind of just flew under the radar the entire time. The fact that we are all, as sports fans, so online that we thought the largest NBA insider was hacked on social media when it got posted because it was such a dumb trade to see visually. It blows my mind how insane that deal is and just the inner layers of conspiracy thoughts on why they did it and what it could mean for the Mavericks' future. It's just crazy, but that's another podcast for another day. But you can let us know what your hypothetical lacrosse version of the Luka trade is at speakpipe.com/OTBLaxPod. Deej, we've got NLL this weekend. We got some NLL to recap. It was a wild, wild weekend. It was not a favorable weekend for the teams playing at home. Home teams went 2-5 in the NLL in week 10. So we will break down everything that happened. It's brought to you by our friends over at Buff, as they always help us wrap up the week that was in the NLL. Guys, shop their winter sale. It's now up to 30% off select items with our friends at Buff. Protect yourself from these cold winter weather nonsense things that we're getting all over the place. We're almost seeing that light at the end of the tunnel, though. We're ever so close to knowing that we can start playing Natasha Bedingfield and feel the rain on our skin because it's about to be warmer, but we still got some time and we got to protect ourselves from the cold. Check out all of their officially licensed Survivor buffs. They've got the buff shiesties, beanies, they got the baseball hats. Check out their winter sale up to 30% off with our friends at Buff. Deej, week 10 in the NLL. The Halifax Thunderbirds come away victorious once again in a 1-goal game, 10-9 over the Vancouver Warriors. Your Roughnecks get a road win in Ottawa, 11-8. The Bandits remain undefeated and take down the Albany Firewolves in an NLL Finals rematch, 16-10 in a Tucker Out Lymphoma Cup game. The Philadelphia Wings fall for the first time at home, 15-12 to the Rochester Nighthawks. The Toronto Rock stay hot and take down the Mammoth at the Loud House, 9-8. The Georgia Swarm survive the Vegas Desert Dogs, 16-14 in what also was a Tucker Out Lymphoma Cup game. Even though Georgia was playing, it still counts. That is like the lone matchup that was not Vegas, Albany, Buffalo for the Tucker Out Lymphoma Cup. So that is a cup game there that Vegas dropped. And Saskatchewan stays hot, takes down San Diego 12-8. I'll start being that I was in the building for that Wings game last Saturday. I just got to say, different start time. So 8 o'clock starts may not be it for the Wings to just be hot at home. I'm being facetious there, everybody. But it was a weird game for the Wings. Like they just it was weird because they did well at the stripe too. When you're going into a game against some of these unicorn face-off guys, and I know it's Mike Sisselberger's first season in the NLL, but his face-off style is built for the NLL. The Wings just played weird in this game. They had 14 penalty minutes. They allowed Rochester to have 6 power play opportunities, to which they capitalized on 3 of them. Now, I will say, and it was a league-wide issue from everything I was seeing, Dan Arestia tweeted at me when I tweeted it, the refs were not good, to say the least, in Week 10. There were a lot of ticky-tack calls in this Nighthawks-Wings game. Now, I'm not saying that's an excuse either, but it was something that I was paying attention to, that when they'd play the replay on the Jumbotron of what the penalty was, I was like, they could have let that go. That did not need to be called a penalty. Or some of them, I just didn't even see a penalty occur, and it was called a penalty. But nonetheless, Rochester just took shots this entire game. They were getting possessions late in the game as well. Sis won 18 out of 30 faceoffs, which is good for Rochester, but I'll also say, like, good on the Wings. At one point, it was tied 11 for 22, both teams at the stripe. So for the most part, the Wings held their own at the stripe against Sis, but offensively, they just couldn't get in a groove. They just had no momentum of consistency. You know, Joe Resiteritz had a 10-point game. Holden Katoni had a 5-point game. Mitch Jones had 7. But then all of your other pieces, you know, Blaze had 2 goals and an assist. That's 3 points for you. But, you know, you didn't get anything of note from a lot of your other pieces. And you need those contributions from your Tony Malcolms and from your Phil Caputos, who Phil had 2 goals, but it wasn't until you were down by a lot. And Phil is one of those juice guys that when he scores, it gets the momentum swinging, and the momentum just never swung for you. Brennan was kind of held in check. He only had 1 goal in this game. Sam Leclerc had 2 assists. He gets put on injured reserve, which we'll talk about because this weekend, Michael Sowers could be making his debut in the NLL. He was added to the active roster this week. But it was just a weird momentum game for the Wings. They never really got going like we've seen them do so many times this season. And they got crushed in the third quarter. Rochester outscored them 4-1 in the third quarter. And they just were never able to kind of find their groove as the game went on. You know, those types of games happen. I still think the Wings are a very good team. I do have a little bit of changed perception on Rochester, because not saying that this changes their season by any means, but if they're able to play the way they did more consistently, they're a dangerous team. Their passing ability against the Wings in this game was phenomenal. They were quick. Their decision-making was precise. And, you know, if you're a neutral biased fan, they were a lot of fun to watch last Saturday night because they were quick, they were methodical, and they really never let the Wings get going, which is, you know, when the Wings are going, they're a tough train to stop.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, looking back at last weekend, I really enjoyed the Georgia Vegas game. I thought Vegas came out and really gave them a run for their money and really pushed Georgia to showcase everything they had that made them better than them, down from goaltending and defense to the offense side of the ball as well. Very hard fought game that gave me a lot of respect for Vegas and what they could do against some of these other teams on the lower half of the league that could have them pushing for a playoff spot late in the season. Like you said, Halifax is getting lucky. I don't know what is going on with that team. They're
the most Jekyll and Hyde team,
they're
ever.
showing very good things, but then also showing really bad things, and winning games that I don't think they should win, but losing games I think they should. And it's wild. I don't even know what
They're
to
like
say.
Two-Face and Batman. You
so
flip
far
a
west.
coin, and then that's the result.
Literally, that is the result. Heads
They're
or
like
tails.
playing jockey in Squid Game.
And I feel like I'm always wrong.
Yes,
I feel like
you can never get what they're going to do correct.
At all. And in that same point, I think we could talk about San Diego and how, first, I want to say no disrespect to Saskatchewan. They're playing one hell of a season. The Rush look fantastic. I'm excited to see them continue to play. I'm excited to see them get into the playoffs and make a push. They look good. The people in Saskatoon should be excited about what's happening over in that arena. But the Seals, Pechanga Arena, should be their meter is tipping to the red. It ain't quite at the red yet, but it's very close. We're at the edge of the yellow, getting to the red. It might actually be time to start panicking over there. A lot of questions, especially with the talent that you have. You should be beyond the finish line. And it doesn't even look like you're going to get close to the finish line this year based off of how the season has started.
It's crazy how vital Trevor Baptiste is to their entire offensive operation. And I mean, that's a nod to how talented of a player Trevor is, but it's also an indictment on the roster construction this season for the Seals, where they shipped out a bunch of guys, said they can't get the job done for us. Let's bring in a new crop of veteran-esque players who have never played together, and let's just see if this puzzle works. It's like they're throwing darts at a dartboard, and they're doing it with an eye patch on, and they don't have the depth perception to recognize that their entire roster has a lot of question marks about it and has a lot of holes in it. And they're starting to remind me a lot of last year's Wings team, where the offense just isn't performing. And when your offense isn't performing, you're, kind of having dead positions almost. That puts a lot of pressure and a lot of play time on your defense and your back end. And obviously, Chris Origlieri, who's a phenomenal goalie. We would both agree he's a top 5, probably top 3 goalie in the league, but he can only do so much. And when your defense gets gassed from having to get back out and play defense because your offense can't score, it's a recipe for disaster.
Absolutely. And I think the bigger part is they're just not getting those instant quick possessions like they used to before. You can bank on that. Okay, we're going to get the ball back, we can go score. Like it really helps you kind of stay calm in games when you know that you have so many opportunities at the ball. I think we kind of see San Diego not necessarily panicking, but kind of counting those possessions and really trying to make one stick. And they're playing a little bit more timid than they were in the past, and that's due to the fact that you're not getting as many possessions as you were before. Obviously, I'm happy with the win, but I'm more than happy with this win, actually. Ottawa's a very good team, and Ottawa has been playing well. To stifle that offense to 8, to hold Jeff T to a couple points, we did a good job. We did just enough to win this game. The goaltending was just good enough. So I'm happy with the way we are progressing. There is still tons to fix as a Roughnecks team, but we'll take a win over a supposed playoff team, or at least a possible playoff team at this moment.
Currently a playoff team right now.
Right, currently a playoff team, and look to continue moving up. I thought Rochester came out and showed you guys a good game, and I feel a little bit better about thinking about that game for a little bit longer. It did take me a minute to pick, but that performance makes me feel a little bit better, even though I took a loss. So we are not even going to talk about the frauds. I don't want to talk about
them. Toronto and Colorado is just a yucky game, and I still don't have a read on Toronto. I'm not like many people who think Toronto is this world beater right now. Sure, they've won 3 games in a row, but I'm just not sold 100% yet. And, Colorado still has their issues. They've given up 102 goals this year as a team that's played 9 games this season. Like, they're a juggernaut offensive team, and Dylan Ward is a fantastic goalie, but they're also going to give up a lot. So I'm not over, and when you hold the team to 9 goals, typically you expect to win that. So that's more on a Colorado offense kind of just having an off night at home as well, in my book, than anything else. I was impressed by Vegas too. They had that down to a 1-goal game with about 3 minutes left, and unfortunately weren't able to seal the deal against Georgia. But that's an impressive battle for a Las Vegas team that's still very young, still finding their identity. It feels like they have the offense in place for the most part. It's just figuring out that defense in the back end, which will come, I think, in the next couple of years of them kind of just finding that. I don't know if that portion of their team is fully resolved yet, but the offense is there. And when the offense is clicking, we've said this a couple times this year, when that offense is clicking, they are very fun to watch, from Jack Hanna to Adam Patra to Donville. Like, they have pieces that make that team exciting. And even in a loss, and it's not a thing where you want to harp on a moral victory, but I think that's a good battle against a Georgia Swarm team that had, Lyle Thompson buzzing, Andrew Q buzzing. Miles Thompson was back for the first time in a long time in that game. So welcome back, Miles Thompson. But a good effort from the Vegas Desert Dogs. And overall, like, a fantastic week of action in the NLL. Like I said, the home teams went 2-5. So good on the road Dogs to come out and perform. But your standings after week 10 in the NLL, the Buffalo Bandits still remain at the top at 6-0. The Saskatchewan Rush move up to second place at 6-2. The Philadelphia Wings are 5-3 in third place due to score differential. The Georgia Swarm are 5-3 with a negative score differential. Calgary 4-3. Colorado 5-4. Vancouver 4-4. Ottawa 4-4 with a negative score differential as well. Halifax 3-4. Rochester 4-6. I do stand corrected there because I said Colorado scored the most goals. Rochester actually has the most goals at 115, but they've given up a league high 124. So take that for what you will. The Toronto Rock are 3-5 with a negative score differential. San Diego 3-5 now with a negative score differential. Vegas is 2-6, and Albany are 2-7. 2-7. Halfway point for Albany. Are any teams truly dead at the halfway part of the season right now, TJ? Are there teams right now, whether it be Albany, Vegas, San Diego? I know Toronto's been on a heater, but they're still 3-5 and figuring things out. Of those 4 teams, are any of them truly dead in the water this season, and this season's kind of already a foregone conclusion of what it is?
I think after next week, we could talk about Albany and Vegas being there. I just think at 2 wins at this point, if you don't pick up one next week, you're reaching that dangerous territory of just not being able to have enough wins at the end of the year to even compete. But I think
it'll be 2 weeks from now, because both of those teams are on buys this week.
Well, yeah, I meant next week, like after week 12.
Going in, yeah. Which, not to peek too far ahead, to give people a little perspective, Vegas hosts Vancouver week 12, and Albany hosts Ottawa.
Well, Vegas also goes on the road to Calgary.
Yep.
That weekend. So there's a 2-game weekend for Vegas that weekend. So it's even more important for them to get at least one win coming out of that weekend.
Do you know how broken my brain is now that I've been watching Premier League soccer and doing a soccer show? Go subscribe to Top Bins. Because the way soccer is presented to you on a box score situation, the home team is the top team and the away team is the bottom team, my brain, it's like reading a different language and then coming back and looking at a traditional North American box score is like I have to rewire my brain again to be able to understand that I'm looking at a non-English box score and thinking that the teams that are on top are actually the road teams, not the home teams.
Yeah, because we do everything backwards here. Quite frustrating, actually.
It's bloody frustrating, isn't it? Short week in the NLL this week, but we will look ahead to week 11, and our NLL preview is brought to you by our friends over at Tomahawk Shades, the best small batch eyewear in the game. Guys, there's no reason for you to go and spend hundreds upon thousands of dollars on sunglasses or blue light glasses or prescription lenses for that matter, when Tomahawk Shades is providing you a quality product that feels better on your face than those big eyewear companies. They look nicer than those big eyewear companies. I kid you not, the amount of times that I go out and people are like, where'd you get your sunglasses from? Where'd you get those glasses from? Tell them Tomahawk Shades. They see the prices and they're blown away because they're giving you a quality eyewear product for a fraction of the big eyewear companies. Go to tomahawkshades.com or download the Tomahawk Shades app in the App Store or Google Play Store. And when you go to checkout, use code USP for 25% off your next order. That's code USP at tomahawkshades.com or in the Tomahawk Shades app for 25% off your next order from our friends at Tomahawk Shades. Deej, let's look ahead to week 11 on the horizon. We're recording this on Friday, so we have games tonight and games on Saturday. 4-game slate. Nice little easy going as we prepare for Sunday being a big old day for the old company here. Tonight, as we record this Friday, like I said, Colorado goes to Georgia. I believe that's their second matchup of the season between these two teams. Georgia got the best of Colorado in the first matchup, if I'm not mistaken. I'll have to double check that. I could be wrong.
I'll double check right now.
That game's at 7:30 Eastern, and then Deidre Calgary Roughnecks on the road against Vancouver in a Canadian showdown, 10 p.m. Eastern time. Then on Saturday at 1 p.m. Eastern time, the Halifax Thunderbirds come to Philadelphia to take on the Wings. And then at 7 p.m. Eastern on Saturday, a little primetime action against two teams who desperately need wins. The San Diego Seals head up to Toronto to take on the Rock.
Georgia, Colorado. Let me just say, I'm looking at it right now. Yes, Georgia won 13-12 in Colorado.
Was that an overtime? I think that might have been an overtime.
I think it was an overtime game. Let me take a look at the game recap right now.
Or it was like a late game, one of the two.
It looks like it was late game. Yeah, it looks like it was late game.
So yeah, that'll be an important game for Colorado to kind of have like an even tiebreaker situation there. Yeah, it was like it was under a minute to go. Andrew Q on the assist from Lyle Thompson.
Yep.
So yeah, that's going to be a huge game for Colorado to kind of get back in hand, if you will, being that Georgia has the tiebreaker currently. It's the second time they'll play each other. So that's a huge game for two teams that are currently, vying for top 6 standing in the table right now, where Colorado's 5-4, Georgia's 5-3. That's a huge swing game in the standings one way or the other for both of those teams. Deej, how are you feeling about this matchup against Vancouver? Vancouver's been playing pretty solid ball, especially defensively. Even though they lost last week, it was still a 10-9 game, and Halifax had to win at the buzzer again to get that victory. How do you feel going up against Vancouver at their place against old Kurt Malosky and co?
I'm happy because it's a Friday night It's 10 o'clock. So what does that mean? I'm available to be watching the game. I haven't sat down and watched more than a game and a half of Calgary Roughnecks lacrosse this year. And I mean live. I'm not talking going back and watching the replay, because you know I'm watching my boys on replay. I have not been able to watch more than a game and a half live. I'm so pumped to sit down and watch this game. It helps that Vancouver's playing good lacrosse. It helps that Kurt Milosky's back in the building. It helps that Christian Del Bianco probably wants to go play with Vancouver and won't suit up for us. It also helps that Vancouver beat us earlier this year.
Yeah, at Vancouver, so you got to be road dogs again.
I'm feeling good. I'm cool with being on the road. We seem to play better on the road than we do at home anyway. I don't know what that's about, but I'll take it. I just want to come out with a win. I hope that they're feeling angry and are ready to get back at someone who already beat them this year to even the series and keep themselves in somewhat of a battle when it comes to tiebreakers. Last thing you want to do is get swept by a team and have no balance or fight in that tiebreaker battle. That's really what I'm looking forward to, is a tie in that tiebreaker series with Vancouver.
Yeah, it's going to be, I want to pull up your road versus home splits now and see if that is the case, if you guys are better on the road. Let's see. Also, whoever works on the NLL website, can we get it so it's easier to navigate the schedule, for crying out loud? Thank you in advance.
All right. We are, hold on, let me get a pen out. I can
1-0 because you won that 18-17 slugfest.
Hold on, I got it all down in front of me so I can make this easy for us.
This is a good pull by you.
We'll go road and home, and we'll go W and L on each side, so we can see what our splits are. All right, we're 1-0 on the road so far. 2-0 on the road so far. And then we lost the home game.
Lost the road. 3-1 on the road.
No, 2-1 so far.
No, I just went through a full.
Oh, you went through. Okay.
Yeah, because the only other road game you've played was last week.
And we lose to Calgary at home. Awesome. But we did beat Georgia at home.
You lost to yourself at home?
I mean, Toronto.
Yeah, your only road loss was the Wings game. That's pretty impressive.
We are 3-1 on the road and 1-2 at home.
Hey, that's a good pull by you. Knowing that you're better on the road.
Yeah, but can we win a home game?
Who was the one home game win against?
Georgia by 1.
Good home win, though. Good home win.
It's a great home win.
So another road dog battle. It doesn't get easier for you.
No, this is such a heartbreak
at home
season.
Because Valentine's Day you have Battle of the Prairies against Saskatchewan.
I know. This is such a heartbreak season this year. Literally, I have been heart attack mode the entire season.
How? You've barely eaten any Big Macs.
That's not helping. Then why do you think I'm trying not to? I might combust if I start eating these Big Macs.
Well, you tried to today, and some shenanigans went down.
Yeah. Some dude got stabbed at my local McDonald's, and then the other guy took off. Wild.
Hell is going on in Kalamazoo?
I'm finna move. I'm about to move. That's what's going on.
Oh. But yeah, that's gonna be a big game tonight at 10 Eastern. Wings and Philly is always a battle. It's a great matchup all the time. I do gotta say, Deej, Wings might get the MCU bump because we're wearing our Marvel jerseys this weekend, and they look sweet.
Well, I do want to tell you we lost an hour, so don't get your hopes up.
They look sweet. Captain America.
But then again, y'all ain't us, so it is what it is.
Yeah, that's true. Captain America vibes, though, which is electric. Those jerseys look sweet in the jersey reveal. Very excited for that matchup because games against Halifax are always so much fun. It's electric. Nice little pregame to Sunday's matchup for the real birds. And then Saturday night at 7 Eastern in Toronto, Hamilton, whatever the fuck you want to call it. Those two teams need wins desperately, and something tells me in a game like this too, where those two teams are so like desperate for a win, that game's going to be very low scoring.
It could be, or it could be extremely high scoring.
Great goalie matchup. Which
I agree.
Shout out to our new Instagram follower, Nick Rose.
Yeah, Nick. we do need to get him on for some cards soon.
We need to get him on. Period.
That I want him to talk about that whole Toronto card thing that happened and get the inside scoop on that as well.
Oh, the whatchamacallit from the World Box stuff?
No, I think the Toronto Rock had like an exclusive.
Oh, yeah. You're right.
It just came out, so
yeah.
I would love to get the inside scoop on that.
Gonna be a hell of a weekend. Anything else stand out to you from the matchups this weekend in the 4 games?
I mean, I'm glad Calgary's playing. We're gonna find out. I would say we're gonna find out how good Toronto is, but I mean, you're getting a layup in San Diego, in my opinion.
And you can say vice versa. We're gonna find out how good San Diego is, but you're getting a layup in Toronto.
Hello. But I think Colorado, Georgia, arguably is like Friday is the day to watch. Philadelphia, Halifax will be fun, but if we're looking for like great lacrosse that's going to be exciting, grab your attention, has like a lot on the line, you're looking at those first 2 games of the day. Both like all
Philly
those
and Halifax is like if you want to see bumps and bruises and you want to see some like smash mouth lacrosse, that's the game to watch.
Yeah, but if you're looking at teams trying to advance and help their playoff chances later in the year, those 2 games tonight or Friday night, which we're recording Friday, are the ones to watch. Saturday will just be for entertainment before we get into the big game on Sunday.
For sure. And I am looking at our picks record from last week where we only had 1 game differently, and that was the Georgia-Las Vegas game. So you got that in hand last week, but we both lost Vancouver. We both won Calgary. We both won Buffalo, so that's 2-1. 2-2 because we both had the Wings. 2-3 because we both had Colorado. You are 3-3. I'm 2-4, and then 3-4 for me. And math is hard. What did I just won?
I was 3-3.
2. So you went 4-3 because we both had Saskatchewan win. So 4-3 puts you at 35-21, and 3-4 puts me at 26-30. So as a collective, we are 61-51. So we're 10 games over 500 to start the season. Not too shabby. 4 games here this weekend. So it's time to head on over to the pick pond and dish out our Week 11 NLL picks of the week. Feed some ducks. It is brought to you by our friends over at Kenwood Beer, the official beer partner of Underground Sports Philadelphia. Guys, there's no better beer to enjoy during the big game this weekend than our friends at Kenwood Beer. Go to kenwoodbeer.com and use the Kenny Finder to see who's got Kenwood Beer on tap in the Philadelphia, New Jersey, Pittsburgh, Maryland, and Delaware areas. You can also find Kenwood Beer at your local liquor stores in those markets. Again, that's kenwoodbeer.com. Use the Kenny Finder at kenwoodbeer.com to see who's got Kenwood Beer on tap in your market. Must be 21 or older to enjoy, celebrate with, and indulge. And, of course, please drink and celebrate responsibly. We start down in Duluth as the Georgia Swarm hosts the Colorado Mammoth. Big swing game for both of those teams, Deej. And like we mentioned, Georgia has the game in hand over Colorado from a prior victory this season. I don't know if it's just me paying attention to last week's trends and continuing it. I think Colorado wants to bounce back from a poor performance, and they know they could have played better against Toronto, and they want to get this game leveled out with Georgia. I think Colorado's going to go on the road and get a big-time win.
I'm going to go with Georgia here. I think the big thing here is Georgia already won against Colorado on the road. Now they're going home in front of their fans to play at home. And I have not had any bad luck going with the GOAT this year. So I think I'm going to keep rocking with him. He may not be your GOAT, but he's definitely my GOAT. I don't know who I'm talking to, but
I was going to say, what are you talking about me for?
He might not be your GOAT, but he definitely my GOAT. I'll take Lyle Thompson in this one.
Then we go 10 Eastern time. Your Calgary Roughnecks heading on the road to take on the Vancouver Warriors. How we feeling, Deej? Road dogs again?
Snipers, bro. We pulling them out. We're on that. I wouldn't pick against them unless it's maybe Buffalo. We'll talk when that time comes around because we played them twice back to back.
I like trends. I like the way that things have shaken out for this matchup for my pick. Vancouver's very good early game. But if you're able to get on them as the game progresses, I'm very intrigued by this face-off battle, too, between Stath and Justin Inacio. That's going to be a lot of fun. But I think Calgary has the firepower for late-game success, whether, it's Curtis Dixon, Jesse King. If Dane Dobie's back, I'm not 100% sure if he's back or not this week. Tanner Cook, you guys have the ability to score late in games, and we've seen the proof in the pudding in terms of comebacks. And you're 3-1 on the road. That to me is a huge trend. So for those reasons, I'm picking Calgary to get a road dub. Then we head to Saturday, 1 Eastern time, Marvel Day at the Wells Fargo Center as the Philadelphia Wings take on the Halifax Thunderbirds. Y'all already know it's a big Philly weekend. The boys are flying. They gotta bounce back at home. They've created the home floor advantage again, and even coming off of a loss, I think they'll learn from this. It's a nice way to bounce back. I think the Wings get a home W against the Thunderbirds.
You rocking with us, so I'm gonna rock with you. Let's fly away. Birds, baby.
We fly to Toronto, Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, as the Seals take on the Rock. Probably the hardest game to pick this weekend. I don't like doing this. I don't like picking against teams that follow us, going against teams that do follow us. Or that don't follow us, sorry. But there's one contributing factor in this, and we've talked about it since his injury. With Trevor Baptiste being out and TD Ierlan being back for Toronto, it's my number one contributing factor, and that's why I'm picking the Rock.
Mine is that Toronto has won more recently than San Diego. And by more recently, I mean they've won 2 or 3 in a row now. They're kind of winning, still winning. So I'm going to go with the winning team, not the losing team. And right now it's Toronto. So I'll take the Rock as well.
So there you have it, our 4-game slate. I'm going Colorado. Deej is going Georgia. And we both have Calgary. We both have Philly. And we both have Toronto. And those are our Week 11 picks of the week, brought to you by Kenwood Beer. Deej, we've got Champ Series on deck starting on Tuesday. We're going to give a little preview, a little preview, and talk a little Champ Series, both PLL and the Dub. It is brought to you by the PLL app. We love the PLL app. Guys, they're doing, was it Founders Week this week in the app? Hella missions to get 2 times the experience in the app. Plus, they're doing free hats, a whole 9 yards. It's a great welcome back to PLL Nation season in the PLL app. It's your go-to place for everything revolving around the PLL, the WLL, exclusive content. It is all in the app. Download the PLL app in the App Store, Google Play Store. And when you go to check out the redeem code section, use code OTBPOD, OTBPOD in the PLL app, and you'll get 500 XP on your account. Again, download the PLL app in the Apple App Store, Google Play Store, and use code OTBPOD in the redeem code section for 500 XP on your account. Deej, before we get into Champ Series, there is one thing that I just remembered that I need to bring up this weekend regarding the Wings game. Sam LeClaire placed on injured reserve. Michael Sowers moved to the active roster. We might be getting the Michael Sowers NLL debut we've all been waiting for.
I don't know what to expect from it. I've seen zero film, anything on Michael Sowers playing box. I mean, he's Michael Sowers, so he's going to do something. I'm just interested to see how he fits into our system.
Yeah, I am wildly excited to watch him play because I think his play style fits the bill of what Sam LeClaire does. He's that shifty and sneaky, like crafty type of player, and I think that really makes the Wings offense what it is when you have a player of his caliber, whether it's Sam LeClaire, whether it's Kyle Jackson, and now Michael Sowers. I think his play style truly fits what the Philadelphia Wings offense truly encapsulates outside of their big dogs on offense. So I really like what Michael Sowers is potentially going to bring in this game against the Halifax Thunderbirds, and we'll see it firsthand on Saturday at 1 Eastern time. I'm very pumped about it. All right, Deej, it's a little preview of the Champ Series coming up at the St. James. How are we feeling about the teams? Obviously, we got news this week that Will Manny will be out for the Cannons, which is unfortunate. But JJ Silstra in, which is exciting. First look at him, I believe, in a PLL uniform, whether it's Champ Series or PLL regular season. So that's exciting. But how are we feeling about, we'll start with the PLL. How do we feel about the teams, roster construction? I know we talked about when the rosters dropped and everything, but going into the tournament, how do you feel about the way that the teams are built and how they'll perform next week down at the St. James?
I think the bigger part of this is I like, we've talked about it pretty much every year with this event, is so many guys are getting an opportunity because there's so many NLL guys that are on these rosters. So that's the main point, is they were able to, I like how all 4 teams were able to keep a nice amount of core guys from their summer team that aren't playing box, while still adding some supplemental pieces from the player pool or wherever that aren't playing box as well, to, one, see if there's anybody that fits the mold of your locker room and your team for the summer, but 2, is going to boost what you're trying to do right now, which is win a championship series. A trophy is a trophy. Everybody wants to win it, regardless of what it necessarily looks like and what it symbolizes. So I just really like that there are 4 teams that were able to hold true to their identity, yet find pieces to add to that. And it's just going to be a fun week. It's going to be 4 teams going out to battle that have everything it takes to be successful, outside of maybe Maryland, but we kind of know why that is.
They don't have Michael Earhart or the defense.
I
But
mean, no,
even
it has
Maryland,
nothing to do with any of that. It's got to
I
do.
was making a joke there. We know it's Stags. But even with Maryland this year, it's something that I think a lot of people are sleeping on. Like, they have players that can compete and score. It's just going to be a matter of keeping up with some of the high octane offense that I think we'll see from teams like the Atlas, obviously the defending champs and the Cannons, and obviously the Archers, who we are both very excited about their roster. But Ryan Conrad has Champ Series experience for the Whips. I think TJ Malone is built for a format like this. Brad Smith, we've seen compete in the Champ Series before, and he's back. Colin Heacock has performed in the Champ Series, and he's back now with this team. And I think guys like Jack Corus and Wheaton Jacoboys, who Stags has waxed poetic about in a multitude of different ways during PLL regular seasons, those guys are also built very much for the Champ Series. And I think a guy like Roman Puglisi is also poised to have a good week down at the St. James. And Brendan Krebs is a dog. So I'm excited to see, him perform as well again, on a big stage. But I think people are, not that I'm saying the Whips are going to win the whole thing, but I do think a lot of people are sleeping on how the Whipsnakes will perform. I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that they're going to just get boat raced out of the building in every matchup they have.
I don't think so either. And that would just flat out be disrespectful to believe that.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a matter of their team isn't necessarily built for that. There are a lot of guys on their team that can and do possess the skills to be good at sixes. Those guys will show out. Those guys will show up. Like, we can look back at the other times they've been in the Champ Series. They aren't getting blown out in these games. They're competing. They just don't have enough to get over the finish line due to all of the other pieces that the other teams have. And then you have to factor in that our homie Stags hates coaching sixes. Like, he's basically verbally said, like, this can go to hell. Like, and all but exactly that. He's like, fuck this. So
I am intrigued to see how he approaches it this time around.
I wonder if he's going to surrender a little more to Drew Snyder. Like, kind of just
It's PT Ritchie.
Oh, really? Because Snyder is coaching. Okay.
Yeah.
But still, I wonder if he's going to lend more to his assistant or assistants and kind of just do his head coaching duties, and let them coach more throughout the experience. Because, well, one, I think it's a great. What I would love to see at some point is for assistants or somebody else to take over head coaching for Champ Series. I mean, it is just a week. Maybe it's somebody already tied to the program, whatever the case may be, but it's giving a new opportunity for more coaches to show what they have, to be on that stance point, and then work their way up. I think it's a great opportunity for somebody to come in and show that they have offensive or defensive coordinator abilities, or show they have head coaching abilities, to then get a job on a PLL sideline during the summer, and then work to something else. But it will get to something like that at some point. But I am interested to see what that coaching scenario will be like for Maryland.
And I know last year the teams, it was announced their home markets by the time Champ Series was playing. But last year's Champ Series was the Utah Archers, Philadelphia Water Dogs, California Redwoods, and the Boston Cannons. Not saying it's a full-blown this is a huge swing, but this is the first time that Champ Series is going to have a little bit more of the hometown flavor to it, with the Maryland Whipsnakes playing right outside of Maryland in Northern Virginia. I think that could also be just a fun, interesting underlying, storyline for the games that Maryland is playing in, whether it's the Charm or the Whipsnakes, and having hometown fans in a environment like the Champ Series that is so high energy, and having fans behind you, I think, is huge. And I think that's going to be something interesting to pay attention to when both Maryland squads are playing their games.
Yeah, I think that's a huge stance point. And it may even draw them to push it somewhere else at some point to make it a little more neutral site, rather than, giving that advantage to one team over another. But I think that'll depend on how many fans come out and what it sounds like and those kind of things. But there is some advantage to that, especially if teams start to settle down and they're only traveling from Maryland to the St. James rather than from San Diego, Salt Lake City, etc. The farther you are away, the more that could play a role at some point in Champ Series.
Now, I am excited because there are some rules changes that we haven't talked about yet on the show to the Champ Series. I am very sad that one of these changes did not just happen last year, because it would have made that final game even better, in my opinion, if this was the case. But here are the rule changes going into the 2025 Championship Series. Instead of a sudden death victory format, we are now getting a 4-minute overtime period. If the game remains tied after those 4 minutes, then it would go to a sudden victory period. I love this change. I think you and I talked about it, or Chase and I talked about it, where sudden death in sixes format like the Champ Series kind of just didn't fit the flavor of what style of game of lacrosse it is. So I like them seeing that. I like them seeing that, they're willing to make the change here. And I think a 4-minute overtime period is the smart move to adjust if there is an overtime in these games.
Wait, what about overtime? I heard that, but I didn't. Oh my god!
So they changed it from it being, instead of sudden death off the rip.
Oh, it's like
overtime,
a period, right?
It's 4-minute overtime period. Then if it's still tied after the 4 minutes, then it goes to a sudden victory period.
To me, that should just be lacrosse.
Agreed.
Maybe you keep box. Maybe box is still sudden death. I could understand that.
I can get that.
Field? Why are we playing sudden death in the first place? Play a whole nother quarter, just like you can shorten it, just like they do in the NBA, just like they do in college basketball. Like that's fine. Or you can leave it full quarter length and then just the team at the end wins. Who's winning? And then you can go to sudden death. I love that rule. I think it's just better. Like it's, especially like with the way faceoffs have gone recently. Some team comes out, wins the face, goes down, scores right away off a fast break. It's like, all right, and no real opportunity here. Yeah. And with the way sixes works, I think that fits the scheme of sixes much better.
Can you imagine if we would have gotten a 4-minute overtime period in that Water Dogs Cannons game last year?
Y'all might have lost.
It would have just added more electricity to that game. That game was all time in my book.
I agree. It was a great game. Absolutely great game.
More changes. There's an updated playoff format this year. So after the round robin pool play, the number 1 seed will advance to the championship game. So if you finish first, you're all the way through. The number 4 seed team will be eliminated, so you do not play in the playoff. The semifinal matchup will be between the number 2 and the number 3 seed.
I agree. You've done what you needed to get here. Now you need to prove that you deserve to play for the Championship Series championship. If you lose to everybody else, go home. Go home.
I like it in a lot more aspects than I dislike it, because it just doesn't, like, previously it was you could lose every game and you still advance, and then if you just get hot in the playoff portion of the tournament, who knows what happens. So it does add value to the round robin play now.
Yeah, a much more of a value. Like, you have to win those games now in order to give yourself a shot, or at least a couple of them to give yourself a shot at championship. If not, you're packing the bags and going home early. I am a big fan of this.
Some more changes. There's a 10-second clearing clock. In the past, teams had 20 seconds to cross the midfield line. This year, they'll have 10 seconds to clear the ball.
Makes total sense. I think it aligns a little more with the field size and is closer to basketball, which sixes is much more like basketball than anything else.
And then we also have roster expansion. So this year there will be 13-man rosters instead of 12. They'll be expanded by one player. Only 12 will be allowed to dress for each game, though. But you will have an additional player available to you. I think that comes with, obviously, some of the key injuries that happened last year and having 3, sub-ins coming in overnight and the legend of Tommy Palusek and everything like that. So I think that just adds to just having more guys on location already in case an injury happens, which hopefully everyone stays healthy through this entire tournament. But 13-man rosters are in play, but only 12 will be allowed to dress for each game. The other 2 rule changes. There's 3 timeouts per half. Each team will have 3 timeouts per half, 1 60-second timeout per half, and 2 30-second timeouts per half. Coach Deej, your thoughts on timeouts?
I wish our timeouts were like that. Me having 2 timeouts. Listen, bro, me playing 12-minute quarters in high school and only having 2 timeouts for the entire game is blasphemous. Blasphemous. So basically, I have an average of 1 timeout every 24 minutes. What are we doing? I'm not saying we need 3, but can I get 2.5? I might not even use 2.5, but I can at least have. Let's look at basketball. They get 5 in a game. 5 in a game. You know how many of them use all 5? Almost never. Right. Only in the close games. But they got them.
They use the timeouts with 2 minutes left, and then it makes that 2 minutes into 45.
Hey, but they got them. I couldn't even make my last 2 minutes into 45 if I wanted to because I ain't got nothing but 2 timeouts, and I already used 1 in the first half. So I really only got 1. I think 3 is a great number. Good. I don't think they're going to use all 3 every time in both halves. But with a game that's so up and down, momentum, you need timeouts every once in a while. I think that will be huge.
And then the final change, all penalties are now non-releasable.
Okay.
I think that fits.
Most of them aren't that long, and you're going back and forth that quick. Like, I
think that fits the style of sixes, too. Like you said, you're going up and down. Goals happen so quickly that it almost nullifies a penalty if one does happen. So I like that change as well. I think they nailed these rules changes across the board.
First time I 100% agree with rule changes across the board. It almost never happens.
So looking at the PLL, we do this every year, Deej. This is also interesting to me because obviously you got the Golden Stick, and right now the Golden Stick winner is kind of viewed as a curse because it was Romar Dennis who won it year 1, and the Atlas lost in the championship game. Kieran McCardle won it year 2, and the Water Dogs lost in the championship game. Looking at guys who can shoot, which means you're scoring a lot of points from 13 yards plus, the highest shooting percentages of participants in the championship series. This is on a career minimum of 30 shots. Number 10 is Miles Jones at 16.7%. Brad Smith is number 9 at 16.8%. Marcus Holman is 17.2% in 8th place. 7th place is Matt Moore at 18.2%. Colin Heacock is 6th at 18.9%. Ryan Conrad starts the top 5 at number 5 at 20% even. Mac O'Keefe is at 20.9%. Chris Aslanian's 21.3%. Will Manny, who will not be playing in this champ series, was number 2 on this list at 27.9%. Then number 1 is the soup man, Matt Campbell, at 29.5%. Damn near 30% shooting from 13 yards plus for Matt Campbell. How do you think the 2-point distribution amongst these teams kind of factors into success rate with the way the rosters are made up and the guys who have success launching from 2? Not that you want to rely on the 2-pointer throughout the tournament. You want to score some singles to, keep pace going. But if you have the ability to shoot those 2s, you do it. how do you feel about the 2-point assassins on these rosters?
I think the big thing here is almost everybody's a 2-point threat, in my opinion. Moving that line in 2 yards closer at 13 really opens that up for a lot of people. Like, you look at the PLL, you even look at D1 Lacrosse, the amount of shooters that can cash from 10 to 13 is a lot higher than the ones that can cash from 13 plus, 15 plus. You just open it up for every player that has a stick out there to cash a 2-pointer. I think it just stretches the field out. It makes the defense stick to their man a little bit more. They can't kind of cramp the middle, which allows more space for cutters, allows more pick and roll action. It really just opens up the space for the offense to flow, and it makes it harder for the defense. Defense has to communicate more. Their slides are a little bit longer. You can't get caught up in your man-to-man. So there's a lot to think about defensively, and it really just allows the offense to flow. And as much as the 2-pointers like give the goalies a chance, they don't. It's 13 out. So it's really just a matter of, I think the bigger thing here is what goalies make more saves on 2-pointers than who's hitting more 2-pointers.
And we saw goalies really have the time of their life last year in the Champ Series. Obviously, our guy Matt DeLuca was sensational. So we'll see how that shakes out. But who's kind of your early look at somebody contending for the Golden Stick, and will it be a curse or not this year?
It seems like it's a curse every year.
Yep.
It hasn't
Romar
gone.
and Kieran.
So it hasn't gone to someone on the winning team yet. But I think we have to think about Shelley being in this list, Grant Amet being in this list, Marcus Holman, Asher Nolting, Matt Campbell on this list, Dox Aiken on this list, Miles Jones, Matt Moore could be on this list. TJ Malone could be on this list. Connor Heacock could make a stretch. So even Rambo. We don't know kind of what we're going to get from him as far as the up and down game and how much he can go, but he's a guy that can put points up on the board. I can tell you that much. So as of right now, it really could go to any of the top guys on any of these teams, because there's really no way of telling who's going to have the best goalie out there. I mean, I think you got to say it's between Krebs and Kirst at the moment, but there's no telling who's going to show up and show out.
I have 3 guys in mind for the Golden Stick. Number 1 is Xander Dixon. I think he's kind of like the sneaky, even though we know how good he is, I think his play is going to surprise a lot of people by just like realizing how versatile and how talented Xander Dixon truly is at the pro level. Not that we as a show don't already recognize that, and the real ball knowers don't recognize that, but I think Xander has a good shot to win the Golden Stick. I think, like you said, Marcus Holman is obviously a candidate. I think Mac O'Keefe is a candidate, and TJ Malone was my other. I think those are the 4, one from each team there, to kind of look at as potential Golden Stick winners. But I guess that brings us to the WLL before we pick our winners. How are you feeling about the dub, DJ, and the rosters, and how we're going to navigate our first, women's sixes tournament? That's not an all-star game, even though these rosters are loaded with all-stars. How do you feel about these teams and the way that they're going to perform in the Champ Series?
Is it called the Champ Series for them too?
Yep.
Yeah, it is. I am still on the fence. I've not picked a team. The hard part is the PLL decided to come back to Chicago this summer. So now I don't know. Do I keep pushing Midwest, or do I just fly out to the West Coast and call myself a California man? It's tough. What I'm excited about is the fact that this is happening. First and foremost, very excited for these games to be going on. Very excited for them to be playing. And very excited for them to be playing in such close proximity to the PLL game. So I think a lot of fans will linger and stay and capture some of the best women's lacrosse they'll ever see. And I love the college connections on all the teams. There's so many teammates that are back together. That makes a huge difference for them. That makes it really exciting for them, but it also makes it easy for them. They still remember where that player likes to catch the ball, where she likes to plant her foot, what it looks like when she comes out of a pick and how she rolls out of it. There's so many different pieces that are going to connect for them in all those different ways. And they are just going to come out and play. It's just going to be good ball. They're there to compete and show that women's lacrosse should be on a professional level. So regardless of who wins or loses on the scoreboard, I feel like they are. Let me say this: they're going to take those wins and losses serious. They're all competitors and they love the game and they want to be at the top, taking home trophies and such. But they would be. I can see all of them looking at the entire week as a win.
Yeah.
Whether they win or lose, it is a win for women's lacrosse all around the board because of the talent that's being showcased on national television for people right in front of their eyes. And they're playing many games as professional women's athletes playing lacrosse, and they know that it's only building up to more.
Yeah, the only difference championship series-wise is the PLL presenting sponsor this year is Lexus, and the WLL presenting sponsor is Maybelline. Because maybe they're born with it, or
I say
maybe it's Maybelline. Who are, kind of like what I did with the men's, who are, one player from each team in the dub that you are kind of looking forward to being the one that kind of pops out and shows out?
Give me just a second. All right, we know. I'm gonna say Alex Ostholmen, or Alex Ostholmen, excuse me, for sure.
Obviously, for me, New York Charging, we're a big Izzy Skane pod. Shout out to Mama Skane. But I also think Kylie O'Miller, also big Kylie O'Miller pod. Shout out Rylan Reese and Kylie. I think Kylie's gonna fucking pop off in this.
Okay. I'll start here. Boston guard. I am a big fan of Dempsey Arsenal.
Same.
And then obviously we have to put Boston College legend Charlotte North in the conversation. I also love Courtney Taylor from Boston College. Those are probably the three I would be looking at from Boston. Looking at my girls out with the Palms. Obviously, defensive player from North Carolina, Kayla Wood. Also, Taylor Moreno from North Carolina.
And Taylor was a goalie in the All-Star game last year, so she has a little experience, which I think is huge for them.
Yep. Sammy Jo Tracy, Ali Mastriani. These are
squad
names I'm very much excited to see rocking green and yellow. Over to Maryland. The only reason I will ever talk about this team is because they have Alex Ostholmen and Lizzie Colson.
Shout out Lizzie. Go Birds.
A lot of fun to watch. And I think Abby Bosco also kind of gets looked over sometimes on this roster due to who else is here. She's going to be a nice addition to Lizzie Colson on the defensive end.
Plus, Grace Griffin, all-time name.
Listen, bro, this charging team is tough.
Disgusting. Right. Filth.
Kuykendall, Market. O'Miller, Market. Skane, yup. Meg and Emma Tyrell, yup, need it. Horsechuck,
Meg Carney.
Like, come on, bro.
Belle Smith.
And you can take your choice between Madison Doucette and Molly Liberty on who's going to go in net. Both of them fantastic and were stalwarts for that Northwestern Wildcat squads that have made great runs in the NCAA tournament. So you can't go wrong picking any of these WLL teams, but there are plenty of players to keep your eyes on.
I like calling Madison Ducati.
Like a Bugatti?
She gonna rev all over them
Bugatti. Get out of here.
This show is so stupid.
We are the funniest people on the planet, bro.
Oh, I'm so excited for Champ Series. It's gonna be a blast. I guess that takes us to who we are predicting as the winners. We got the runner-up correctly last year because we both had the Water Dogs winning. We liked their roster. We liked Matt DeLuca, obviously, and they came up an overtime goal short. And then the year prior, we picked the underdogs of all underdogs, and they came out victorious with them Chrome boys. Who do we got? We'll start PLL as our winner for the 2025 Championship Series.
I think I'm gonna pick Cannons to repeat.
Interesting.
I really like Utah. I think they can make a push. And Atlas has a lot that is intriguing, but I've seen Atlas fall apart multiple times now. So I don't know if I can really bank on that. Yeah, Atlas and Archers are like 2 and 3, any kind of order you want. Once again, no disrespect to Maryland. I do hope they come out and shock me, but from what we've seen from them in the past and the mindset that some people in the organization have towards sixes, it leans me away from that. So yeah, I would go Cannons first, and then some combination of Archers, Atlas, second, third.
I am taking the Utah Archers to win it all. I think this is the first time we get the defending PLL champions to win the championship series. I like this Archers roster a lot. There's a lot of cohesiveness with them. Mac O'Keefe in the fold, I think, is a huge addition to this Champ Series roster. Grant Ament and Matt Moore are healthy. And I just like the makeup of their entire roster. And I think the big aspect of this, too, is Piper Bond and Connor Marr have played in this format since they were rookies, and they had extreme success last year and in their Champ Series careers. And I think you need good, like, two-way type of middies like those guys to have success, and those guys having experience, I think, pays off. And I think Chris Bates and the Utah Archers take it home for the Western Conference as the only team representing the Western Conference this year in the PLL, and they go and win the Champ Series along with the PLL Championship, which I wonder if we'll ever get a name for that, because I know in pro soccer, if you win the Premier League, if you win the Champions League, and if you win I think it's the FA Cup that's included in it, it's called a treble because there's 3. So I wonder if we ever get something like that for the PLL. Maybe we'll come up with a name for it if you win both, what the name would be. But I think the Archers take it home in the PLL, and then in the WLL, Deej, who you got taking it home in the inaugural Women's Championship Series?
I don't feel as confident in this pick on this side. I am going to say I believe one of 2 teams will take this home, and I believe it is either the California Palms or the New York Charging. I think all of the similarity in college ties of teammates coming back together, but also the recency of the success of those teammates in their time together, that has me leaning toward those teams being a little more ready. Not necessarily like teams aren't going to come out ready to play and hyped and good to go, but more so it's going to take them a little bit faster to get back into the groove and to feel each other out than some of the other teams. So I will lean toward one of those 2 taking it, but I really am more so taking shots in the dark right now.
To give you a little perspective, just in the betting market wise, on a certain sports book that I use, the Boston Guard are favored at plus 250. The New York Charging are next at plus 270, as are the Maryland Charm at plus 270, and then the California Palms are at plus 300. So relatively in that same space, but I feel confident after seeing the roster, seeing coaches. I'm taking the Maryland Charm. I think the quote-unquote home squad is bringing it home in the inaugural WLL Championship Series. Plus Lizzie Colson's the GOAT, go Birds. So I'm going to take the charm to get the W. I do think the Palms are going to shock a ton of people, and it would not surprise me if we get a Charm Palms championship.
That would be dope. And I hope the Palms take them down.
It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm excited because, Champ Series last year, the Women's All-Star Game was just as exciting as the championship game itself. So I'm super pumped to see what comes out of the WLL Championship Series. The PLL Championship Series gets going on Tuesday. You'll know when I'm down there. Everything just has to go according to plan on Sunday to really know when I'll be down there. Deej, it's time for your segment. It is the College Lacrosse Breakdown. It's brought to you by our friends over at 47 Brand. We love 47 Brand here at Underground Sports Philadelphia. Deej, I got to show you this bad boy. Look at this thing. Look at this thing hanging. Look at that thing hanging.
Oh, that thing, nice.
They got the big game gear. Plus 47 Brand has the best college sports apparel headwear in the game. Deej, give me a lacrosse team right now off the top of the dome. Might even just be your Michigan Wolverines, but give me a team to look up in terms of college to pull up their gear on 47 Brand.
I would probably actually say North Carolina.
North Carolina.
Not really thinking about their lacrosse team, but just thinking about their color scheme and what would be available and how you could piece that together for some things. I'd imagine 47 Brand's got some heat.
They've got this corduroy rope hat that's navy blue with the Carolina blue NC logo on the side. Looking clean. They've got, let's see here, looking for some other stuff that'll really pop. They've got a nice little, the curved brim dad hat style with the old school classic ram on the front. Just the best gear in the game comes from 47 Brand. Use our link in the description. Shop 47 Brand. They've got amazing apparel too. They've got shirts with that old school Ram logo on it. They got those, those lacer hoodies that look like hockey sweaters. They got that for UNC. They got it for all your favorite teams. Use our link in the description and get free shipping on all orders with our friends at 47 Brand. We love 47 Brand here. They're truly the best. So go shop. Plus, guess what? Speaking of, they've got a vintage national champions UNC lacrosse shirt looking pretty clean. I'm going to take a picture of it and send it to Deej so he can have a live reaction to how clean this shirt is. Use our link in the description. Shop everything 47 Brand has to offer and get free shipping on all orders when you join the 47 family today. Deej, I love vintage gear so much, and this shirt is fire. We've got a good slate of college lacrosse this weekend, and I know you're excited. Your Michigan boys taking on the aforementioned UNC Tar Heels. But we'll start with Syracuse as they have a two doche this weekend. They play Friday, they play Monday. How you feeling about Syracuse's matchups against Vermont on Friday night and then against number 17 Towson on Monday at 5 p.m.?
I think Vermont's a big deal. I think this is a game that Syracuse schedules every year, and it's a game that they play every year. And every once in a while, Vermont has gotten the best of them. It's a team that kind of just comes in scrappy, ready to play, and giving them their all because, well, for the most part, Vermont is seen as the underdogs there. They're the ones that have to go in and prove that they're good enough to compete with Syracuse. So that's one to always keep an eye on. It's a great win for Syracuse if they're able to lock it up and is normally a momentum booster for them, which they'll need headed into the Towson game. Towson did just drop one to Hopkins, but it was a very close game. It was a 1-point game. It was a great game. The energy was high. It was there. Towson looked good. So they're going to be looking to bounce back. Syracuse is going to need the momentum for the Vermont game to have them on the up and up headed into a game where Talenton is going to be looking to strike back and get back in the win column after dropping to not only a rival, but a in-town rival, as we know what's happening with the whole Baltimore-Maryland scenario and all those teams playing each other. It's about to get real sticky down there. And right now, Hopkins is in front. But Townsend definitely had plenty of things to say about that.
Yeah, I just sent you a picture of that UNC shirt that I'm sure you're going to wax poetically about.
This actually is fire.
Right?
I like the yellow outline, even though it has like nothing to do with North Carolina whatsoever.
It like perfectly makes it pop.
It makes it pop in the perfect way.
So looking at, because Syracuse is the only game on Friday, but looking at Saturday, your Michigan Wolverines on the road at UNC, 15 versus 16 matchup. How we feeling? How we feeling in an early season tilt between two titans of the early go?
Couldn't be more excited. I'm glad this is a ranked win. I think this is the first opportunity for Michigan to get a very good win on the year, the first opportunity for them to really showcase who they are. I do want to say last week's win was dominant. Gave up the first goal of the game and then went and scored 14 straight to win that game 14-1. That's domination. That looks good. But how well do you play against a ranked team in the ACC? They're not the best team in the ACC, but they're in the ACC, the best conference in college lacrosse right now. The only one fighting them for it is the Big Ten. The Big Ten's pushing. Maryland made the tournament last year. Actually, made
the final.
Checks notes, the final, the championship game. Rutgers just missed the tournament last year.
They're ranked right now.
But they are ranked right now. Penn State made the tournament last year. Michigan made the tournament last year. Johns Hopkins made the tournament last year. 5 of their 6 teams made the tournament last year.
And all those teams you just named are all ranked right now.
So it's super high, right? And the Big Ten is looking good. But on the other side, there's one conference that's also doing the same thing, and that's the ACC, except all of their teams are ranked.
Mm-hmm.
This is a good win for Michigan if they're able to pull it out. It's a good win for North Carolina. I think this is going to be a very great game. The only thing I don't like about this for Michigan is this game's on the road.
Yeah, it's tough.
Would love for this game to be at Lacrosse Stadium. Instead, it's down south in Chapel Hill. Going to have to travel and play well, but I'm excited this game is on ACC Network. That means I can watch it because it's going to be on ESPN. I'm just glad to be watching Michigan lacrosse this weekend. But in all actuality, this is going to set the standard for the day, being a noon game. It's playing alongside Duke Jacksonville. Like, this is kind of the noon game to watch before the 1 o'clock games pop on it, and we have more to talk about.
And then speaking of the ACC, number 7 Duke travels to Jacksonville, take on John Galloway and those boys. Jacksonville's always frisky, so it's a fun game. But obviously Duke put on one hell of a performance last week, so we'll see how they build off of that. In your opinion, is that obviously it's a good thing that they won, and in the fashion they won is impressive, but how do you compartmentalize that in the early season? And obviously it's a little different if you're Duke and you've been on the big stage, so it is a little easier for you to do that. But it is also impressive that they're doing it with a brand new offense. Obviously, a bunch of those boys, graduated last year. Brendan O'Neill, Josh Sawada are not there. Dyson Williams not there. So to see their offense click like that against an inferior opponent, no disrespect to their opponent, but that's a good sign for things to come for their offense.
Yeah, I'm actually looking forward to this game because, as a lot of people know, there are 2 teams that are February kryptonite for Duke. The Blue Devils have a lot of trouble beating either the Dolphins from Jacksonville or what is their mascot? I don't know what High Point's mascot is off the top of my head. Cougars? No, I don't think they're Cougars, though. Nonetheless, they have a very tough time. Pilots?
Panthers.
Oh, Panthers. There it is. I was getting closer.
Ooh, their mascot outfit, elite.
It is elite. It is. It looks very
clean.
I like it a lot. But they have a very tough time beating both High Point and Jacksonville in the month of February. They're playing Jacksonville. It is a road game for Duke as well. So that's something to factor in. But in my humble belief, Duke is better this year than they were in some of those times they've dropped these games. They do still have to go out and play the game and win the game. But I think Duke will come out on top this year, and they're really poised to prove that they are still themselves without Josh Sawada, Jake Naso, Brennan O'Neill, Dyson Williams, etc.
I mean, I'll give you the floor to get a little chuckle and laugh out because Ohio State lost last week to kick off their season.
You said, what about who?
I said I'll give you the floor to chuckle and laugh a little bit because Ohio State lost to open their season last week.
I told you that was going to happen last week.
I know, but the floor is yours to laugh and chuckle.
We ain't wasting no time with them people, man. Like we knew what it was going to be. The one team that drags us down in the Big Ten is Ohio State. They had that one like crazy year with Trey LeClaire and them where they went to the national championship and lost. They went and they ain't done nothing since. They ain't beat Michigan. They ain't really won no Big Ten games. They lose in the Big Ten tournament all the time. They ain't made the playoff. Why are we talking about them? See, I already wasted 30 seconds talking about some dudes that don't matter.
And there's your Ohio State Minute brought to you by Deej's sarcastic ass attitude.
I swear to God. We don't even like them. No, I will say, though, they stadium nice. I will give them that.
Big fan.
That stadium is nice.
1 p.m. on Saturday, another ranked versus ranked matchup. Georgetown, Johns Hopkins at Homewood Field. Should be a banger of a game.
Yeah, I mean, with this one coming on at 1 o'clock, this means two things. At noon, I'll have split screen going with Michigan, North Carolina, Duke, Jacksonville. At 1 o'clock, my screen's instantly getting split into fours because there's another game we'll talk about in just a second that comes on at 1 o'clock as well. Georgetown, Hopkins, being at Hopkins is huge for Hopkins. It's a home game. Another one, a chance for their fans to get behind them, which Hopkins has one of the best fan turnouts. It helps that they're a D3 school and that lacrosse is their best sport, so everybody's tuned in. It helps that this campus is in Baltimore. You got fans coming from the outside. It's going to be a fun game because this is one of those Maryland-Baltimore rivalry games that's on the road. The Georgetown, Maryland, UMBC, Loyola, Townsend jumbled mess that is. Hopkins wants to run the table this year. You can tell by the way they're playing. I'm excited to see them play the Terps later in this year during Big Ten play, but they want to own that Baltimore, Maryland thingamabob that's going on down there, and so far they look good. I think Georgetown will come in and give them a fight. They looked good in week 1, week 0, whatever you want to call it. But I do give the lean to Hopkins based off of the energy we've seen inside of that building from not only the team, but the surrounding supporting cast as well. I think that is a game to watch this weekend, though, for sure.
And then, like you said, Maryland plays Loyola, Maryland, so good rivalry there. Rutgers plays Stony Brook, and then Delaware and Utah, another ranked team there with Utah coming off a Big Ten win last week. And then Denver at Air Force is the final game on Saturday. How you feel about Denver going on the road?
Real quick before I dump into Denver, Maryland and Loyola also going to take down at 1 o'clock. That's going to be that fourth game that's on my split screen. Another one of those games that's going to matter in that whole Baltimore jumbled mixed bullshit they got going on down there. I would love to see Loyola knock them off. It's not too far stretched. It's something we've seen before. Anything that makes Maryland lose makes me happy. We've beat Maryland 2 times in a row as Michigan Wolverines. Actually, I think it's the last 3 times we've played them. We've given them the shellacking. So I am very confident in talking words right now. Until Maryland beats us again in lacrosse, I will talk all the words I want. And that starts with hoping Loyola beats Maryland this weekend. So go Greyhounds. But that is a game you should watch. It will be fun. that whole little area always gives us great rivalry games. So anytime you see those on the schedule, make sure to block off some time for yourself so you can be in note of that. By the time the noon games end, though, this Denver Air Force game will be starting. This is one of the only West Coast games that we'll ever see. This is like purely about as West Coast as it gets for D1 lacrosse at the moment. It's another Colorado team taking on a Colorado team. Air Force is they've been looking okay the last couple of years. They're going to fight for their conference title, but I don't think they have nearly enough to battle with Denver. And if I'm not mistaken, this is a road game for Denver, so we probably won't see those white helmets for this game. We'll most likely see the Reds. So that's just something to keep an eye on. But Saturday, it's a day full of lacrosse, but not really. I guess you're going to be watching a lot of college basketball too. You got some early college lacrosse, you got some college basketball to mix it in the middle. You got
NLL.
You got the Wings at 1 as well. But then
Steels and Rock at 7.
I say in between the end of the 1 o'clock games and that 7 o'clock game, you got the 1-2 o'clock game with Denver and Air Force, and you're probably watching college basketball.
And then on Sunday, a battle of PA. It's number 12 Penn State headed to the main line to take on Villanova.
This would be a great win for Villanova, a chance for them to get in on the mix, a chance for them to really throw some things at Penn State and knock Penn State off early, get a ranked win on the year, and feel good about themselves heading into Big East play. I mean, you're going to take on Georgetown, you're going to play Providence, you're going to play St. John's, you're going to play Denver. Those are going to be tough games for you, specifically Denver and Georgetown. So if you're able to get a ranked win or at least just compete against this ranked team that's around the skill level of those, you feel much better headed into Big East play when you have to take on those better teams, those ranked teams, and really use this as a litmus test and an eye test as to who you are as a team so that you can address the right things to be successful in the Big East and maybe even steal yourself an automatic bid into the NCAA tournament. But really, the matter of this is the only game worth watching on Sunday. It is a noon start, so you have plenty of time before the big game even pops on, before you even think about popping it on. So there's no reason why you shouldn't watch this game, unless you'll be like me in church. So, yeah.
And I'll be do not disturb. I'll be shifting into Go Birds mode like I have been for the last 2 weeks. So there you have it. That is the college lacrosse weekend preview. And like we've said, if you subscribe to the Outside the Box podcast YouTube channel, it's youtube.com/@OTBLaxPod. Get us to 100 subscribers over there. Deej, Hoots, OTB College Show every week, Monday, ready to rock and roll for you on the podcast feed and on the YouTube channel. So subscribe, youtube.com/@OTBLaxPod. Last thing here before we get up on out of here, we're recording this on Friday, February 7th. It is Underground Sports Philadelphia's 7th anniversary. This day is super special to me, super special to a lot of people who work at this company, who have worked at this company. I went on a long tweet thread, diatribe, Facebook post, LinkedIn post, everything, because this day is super important to me. Kind of got this journey started, and genuinely, like, it sounds super sappy and dumb, but like, thank you to everybody who tunes in to every show we have. Because without you guys, like, this thing doesn't exist. Thank you to you, Deej, for hopping on in 2021 and like seeing the vision of what this could be and believing in like everything I fed to you of what I saw for not only this show, but the company, and you being like, yeah, let's ride. All from a simple DM of you traveling 16 hours to Boston, Massachusetts. Fuck that city. But, you know, thank you, because before you, like, OTB was very much in a limbo state. And you definitely brought it back to life, and we wouldn't be where we're at without you. So thank you. Shout out to Hoots, who started as a fan of the show and has gotten in the mix with us and believes in everything full send, to Chase, to everyone who works at this company, everyone who listens, watches, follows, subscribes, who has like believed in what we're trying to do. It means the world to all of us, especially me, being like, this has been my fucking dream since I was 16 years old to be able to just talk about sports with my friends. Shout out to Kevin Nagandi, who inspired that.
You got started on the dream late, big dog.
Dude, well, funny thing, when I was younger, I wanted to be a CSI because I loved the show. I wanted to be crime scene investigator, and then sophomore year of high school, I realized I sucked at math and science. So that killed that dream immediately. And then I also realized I don't want to be seeing blood pouring out of people and dead bodies and stuff like that. So then I didn't know what I wanted to do. And then I was sitting watching Sports Center after a grueling 3-hour swim practice the summer going into my junior year of high school and seeing Kevin Nagandi, who's from Philadelphia, hosting Sports Center. I literally asked CFO Margie, I said, "Hey, Mom, is that a real job? Like, can you do that?" And she was like, "Yeah, it is." And I was like, at that moment, I was like, I know what I want to do for the rest of my life. So that's how it kind of sparked. And obviously I went the traditional journalism route, freelancing, writing for, college newspaper, writing for NJ.com. And then the podcast idea sparked in 2017. The Eagles win a Super Bowl, and now we're here 7 years later with a full-fledged media company and doing things that I never thought were attainable without having, millions and millions and millions of dollars backing it. But here we are, just breaking down doors in a multitude of sports leagues, of sports in entertainment, and it's all because of the people who support us and listen to these shows week in, week out, and want sports analysis for fans, by fans. That has been a staple of what we built this company on from the jump. And I just can't thank everyone enough for supporting all of us. And there's only one thing left to do this year, Deej. Let's go fucking win a Super Bowl.
Woo!
Let's
Go
go.
Birds.
Go Birds. But yeah, shout out to everybody. You guys are the best. We fucking love you. And here's to year 7 and many, 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 many more years to come. Make sure you guys are following us on the socials at OTB Lax Pod. Follow Deej on Twitter at SCS_NextGreat. Follow me at KBIZZL311. Follow Hoots at Hoot Sports Media. And follow Chase at the PLL Pipeline. Subscribe to the pod, Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts in audio form. Leave a 5-star review. Subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel. Thank you guys for helping us hit 1,000 subscribers. Now the road to 1,100 to 2,000 and beyond continues. Keep subscribing. YouTube.com/@Underground Sports Philadelphia, and subscribe to the Outside the Box Podcast YouTube channel. 51 more subscribers, and Deej and Hoots are starting the OTB College Show. So subscribe over there, youtube.com/@OTB LaxPod. Again, check out Shootout For Soldiers website as well, and find out how to register, get involved, donate, volunteer for any of these events. The 285 Atlanta Lacrosse Invitational on March 1st. Shootout For Soldiers Houston, Texas on March 8th and 9th. Jacksonville, North Carolina on May 25th. Long Island on July 9th and 10th. Massachusetts on July 12th. Ohio on July 19th. Canandaigua on July 26th and 27th. Virginia on August 2nd and 3rd. Colorado on August 9th. Northland, Wisconsin on August 30th. And Baltimore, Maryland, September 5th and 6th. Shootoutforsoldiers.com/events is linked in the description. This has been episode number 361 of the award-nominated, honorably mentioned, number 9 NCAA ranked, and of course viewable on YouTube, Outside the Box Podcast, the official lacrosse podcast on the Underground Sports Philadelphia Podcast Network. We apologize if this gets up later in the evening on Friday. Just recording schedule has been crazy because it's big game week, so that's just how it happens. But the episode will be up in due time, so apologies for a late upload if that is the case. But for Deej, I'm KB. Enjoy the weekend of lacrosse. Bang, bang, bird gang. Fucking go Birds. And we'll see you guys here. I'll more than likely be here or I might be at Champ Series. We'll see. Who fucking knows? Go fucking Birds. Let's go, baby.